Hi, everybody. Welcome to the regular meeting of the Ulster County Resource Recovery Agency for October 9th, 2025. I'm Jim Gordon. For those of you who weren't here for the first meeting, I see we've been joined by a recycling coordinator. Welcome. All right, let's take roll call. James Gordon is here. Donna Egan is absent. Andrew Giorgi. Here. Okay. Erica Brown.
Here.
Mike Baden.
Here.
Okay. Our Executive Director, Mark Ryder.
Here.
Timothy DeGraff.
Here.
Angela Brandt.
Here.
Tim Wiedemann.
Here.
And Nancy Lamb.
Here.
Great. Okay, let's stand for the Pledge of Allegiance, please. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Great. I appreciate everybody being here tonight. Is there anyone who would like to address the Resource Recovery Agency? This is our time for public comment. Please raise your hand if you want to speak. Hey, Manna, that's a surprise right there. Okay. All right, Manna, please.
I just want to let you know that the Recycling Oversight Committee has been reconvened. And it's really an excellent group. Some of the members are here to understand the workings of the agency. And I think what is valuable about it is that it is a very diverse group. So there's a hauler and a business person and people that represent different sectors. And there's a real strong intent to be cooperative and solution oriented. So I just wanted to be sure that you folks knew that that was the case. Thanks.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. There you are. Yeah.
So, Manna, you weren't here earlier when we were talking, but so I get that it was reconvened, but it's still the same committee, and so Erica is a member of the committee, and oftentimes I will join. And neither of us got notice of the most recent meeting, which is why we weren't there. So if you want to bring that back to the legislative clerk, because in the law, an agency board member is a member of the committee. I just normally sometimes attend to provide whatever.
And I had meant to follow up. I noticed that.
Okay.
And I had meant to follow up, so
I'll mention it, but if you mention it too as a legislator, it might help.
yeah, it was.
It'd be good that we get notice.
Yeah, Mike Tierney in particular was coordinating.
Okay.
I have a comment.
Great.
Hi, I'm Bobby Cannon-Reese. We did our first Repair Cafe in Ellenville, and we're doing our second one on the 18th of October. We fixed 65 items. We had 35 people attend. We fixed Sony PlayStations, remote control cars, all kinds of things. And it was great, and people loved it. So
Great.
we're doing it again.
Thank you.
Yeah, congratulations and thank you. Okay. Any other public comment before we close and move on? Okay, thank you.
Jim, do you mind if I ask Manna a quick question about the recycling? Who's chairing that committee for recycling society?
This woman from Rochester, the
Erin?
Erin, yes.
Thank you.
But she wasn't at the last meeting.
Yeah, so we gotta,
She got appointed
we
chair by
put
default.
her in an alternate.
By absence.
Understood. Okay, thank you, I was just curious.
We're trying to figure out when the next one is gonna be, so we'll let you know.
All right, so I'm going to use the prerogative of chairperson to reward one of our staffers and let him get home early to his child's birthday party. So we're going to move the resolution 2662, 2663, and 2664 to the head of the agenda. So if the board would join me in pulling out those documents so that we can consider them while Tim is still here. No, I don't have no copies. Thank you. All right, thanks. So 2662, approving the 2026 final agency budget. So I will accept the motion to discuss resolution 2662.
I'll make that motion.
Okay, second please.
Second.
Okay. Discussion. Mark, you want to take it and remind us what we're, how should I put it, going to approve tonight? Thanks.
Yeah, so this is setting the agency budget. I'm gonna quickly take it over to Tim. We did have some changes that went out to all of you, from the August budget, and I'll let him explain those. I know that you all received a document explaining those changes as well.
So I think the most important part of this is that the changes from the original proposed draft budget and the one we're presenting for final approvals is there's no change in the tipping fees, okay, and there's no change in estimated volume. The changes that we essentially made in here either had to do with, maybe there was a formula error I found, or we received actual numbers. A good example of that is your pension contribution rates are not released when we're doing our original proposed budget, either July or the beginning of August. We don't receive them until the end of August or September sometime. So we receive those rates and your changes in the pension line items. Our health insurance, we don't get renewals rates. We get a proposed rate, which goes in the original budget. But sometimes we make adjustments when we get actuals. In this case, what MVP, our carrier, actually asked for, they did receive. So the actual budgeted increase on, let's say, a per plan premium number did not change, but we did make some changes within that affected our salaries and wages, overtime, payroll taxes, pensions, because one of the big changes we made is we actually moved one of the MERF labor vacant positions. So you had some increases, some decreases, and some net effects in that. But at the end of the day, with all those changes, we still ended up, originally we had budgeted a small surplus of $18,419. With all these changes, we ended up with a small surplus budget of $1,073. So really, this new budget just represents more actual figures and the reduction of one of the vacant staffing that we have.
Which was a long-term
Vacant
vacancy.
position, correct. There have been several years it was vacant, so we felt comfortable with moving that to make everything balanced.
Does the board have any questions?
I have pseudo question, pseudo statement. So the board knows that I've brought up many times that I think our compliance officer is doing a great job, but it's one person for the entire county. And so I had a conversation with Tim and asked him what the magic numbers would be in order to hire another person. And I just wanted to share this with the board. I'm not asking that we make changes in the budget, but I just wanted us to have an awareness of it. So it would be roughly, with benefits, salary, everything, $126,000 for a full-time person. If we went to a half-time person, sadly, it doesn't just go to half, it goes to about $90,000 because of some of the benefits and things. I just would ask that we sort of keep it on our radar, because if as the year goes on, we identify any places where there is either additional revenue or less expenses than we thought, maybe we can revisit that. I just think that, having one person, compliance is a really important piece of the puzzle. And only having one person doing it, there's just no physical way that one person can do it alone. So I just wanted to say that, but I support this budget and think everybody did a great job on it.
Great. All right, well, Erica, have anything? Andrew, have anything? No. Neither do I, and I too support the budget, so,
Did you have something else?
No.
okay. Oh, well then, all in favor of the resolution?
Aye.
Aye, opposed? Okay, thank you. Resolution is passed. And now, what's the next one moving on? Thank you for your patience, Mark. 2663, okay. Do we have I'll just read the title. 2663, approving the fee schedule for the 2026 tipping fee and other changes. Charges, thank you. I'll accept the motion, discuss resolution 2663, approving the tipping fee schedule.
I'll make the motion.
Okay.
Second.
All right. Discussion, Andrew, I saw your hand up. You have a,
No, I was just making the
Thank
motion first, I'm looking at it.
So I wanna, oh, sorry, did you have something?
I was just gonna say that the mattress and the box springs, now that we have been approved for it, is this the price we're gonna charge still? Okay,
Yes.
okay.
This is the same document that you all approved as a draft in August. I wanna just use this time to really thank Tim, but also the other directors in the work that goes into putting in the budget. I should have done this during the last resolution, but, this starts back in May, June, July, once we start to get some numbers, and so, takes a lot of their time. It takes a lot of the directors going back and forth with Tim, myself, and so, just wanna thank everybody, for the work that was done. I think this is good. There is an increase here, but we're trying to hold our costs down while also seeing other costs go up, and also starting a new program, which is the reuse program, which we think will have benefits years to come.
I just want to second that. I know how hard it is. It's basically a year-round, you're always working on the budget. You're always trying to keep things together. You're always looking at what costs are coming down and what costs are going up, and very few costs going down, most of them going up, And so I really appreciate the work you're all putting in. So I know I speak for the board with that.
And to clarify, Mark, there's no increase for the municipalities, correct?
Correct. There is no increase on the municipal
I
side.
think that's a really big statement to be made, that the supervisors were very concerned about the cost of their transfer stations, and we were able to hold the line from last year's pricing, or excuse me, this year's pricing to next year's, so I just think that's important to be said.
And not only that, but it is a way to encourage people to use these great resources that they have in their community, and use the town transfer stations to take your recyclables and your waste, as we expand programs to the ones that are willing, with composting and, so diverting food waste and reuse. We're expanding the amount of services that residents will get there, so it made sense to keep the tipping fees the same as we're trying to encourage more people to use those facilities.
And the full fee stayed the same too, right?
Correct.
Okay, last chance. Any discussion on this? Okay, all in favor of resolution 2663? Aye. Opposed? Okay, it carries. Resolution 2664, approving the 2026 final agency capital plan.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second it.
Okay, all right. I don't think this has changed since we've
This
listed
is
the
not
plan,
changed
right?
since August.
Nope, same one.
All right. Anything you want to say about this?
Nope, no changes.
Okay. Anything the board want to say? This is the same document we approved
I'd like
once
to-
before.
I'd like to make a motion to approve resolution 2664.
Okay.
I'll second it.
Okay. All right. All in favor of approving resolution 2664?
Aye.
Aye. Okay. Opposed? Great. It carries.
How
Sure.
old?
Turning 10.
Ooh.
Yay. Well, thank you, and sincerely, thank you for your hard work, Tim.
Thank you.
And all the team, and I know you in particular. Have fun tonight.
Don't eat too much cake now.
All right, thank you. So back to the agenda in order, and thank the board, for going along with that. I knew you would, of course, right. All right, so approval of the agenda. Is there anything people would like to add to the agenda as presented in draft form?
I had one that I'd like, under the executive session, because it's gonna involve our council, I just wanted to have a discussion about litigation.
I would prefer to wait until our whole board is here, if that's okay.
Okay,
We do have an executive session, so,
We do have an
but
example.
we would need to call it for the specific
Yeah.
purposes, so.
yeah, the only reason I was bringing it now, it says if necessary, and I was just
Right,
requesting that we be able to have it, because I actually had a couple questions for council, but it's involving litigation, so it's something that should be in executive.
well, so do we have an executive session that you want to call?
Related to collective bargaining and an update on negotiation, but
If we can
we
add
would
that.
add, you're talking about a specific case.
Alright. I would say let's get into it, but let's not get into it too deeply if, we're gonna have to have it all again next month. Okay, alright, so we do have an executive session that will be called, just so I know, on the agenda for tonight, on the negotiations.
We are on the negotiations, we don't have any litigation that involves the agency.
We'll just wait till you're going to the executive
Okay.
session and wait.
Well,
and
we
ask
just
what
have to
you-
call
Well, but you have to say what you're going into executive session for, so I can't ask the question if we don't say it.
Well, then say it, you're going for whatever.
That's what I'm saying, it's about
Litigation.
litigation before I say.
And you can ask the question, is it litigation? No, and then that's it, you did it, in my opinion.
No, that's fine.
Okay.
Council can tell us whether we
Yeah.
can or not. I'm just trying to follow the executive session.
So we're going to go into executive session, even, there's nothing
Yeah,
listed under,
yeah.
okay, alright, good, alright. So then, without any further amendments to the agenda, we will have an executive session along the lines of Mark addressed. And, anything else?
Did you, not that it makes a difference, but did you move the fact that you had the resolutions before?
No,
Okay.
that's.
Okay.
All right, so then I'll accept the motion to approve the agenda as modified, an executive session at the end.
I'll make that motion.
Okay, second?
One second.
Okay, all in favor? Aye?
All right.
Okay, thank you. All right, so the next order of business is the approval of the minutes for September 11th, 2025, regular board meeting. First of all, let's have a motion to accept the minutes.
I'll make that motion.
Okay, second, please.
I'll second it.
All right, so discussion? Any changes anyone wants to make to the minutes of September 11th, 2025 as presented? All right, all in favor of accepting the minutes?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, great, thank you. Communications and announcements. The next regular board meeting is scheduled for November 13th, 2025 at 6:15 p.m. That's a little earlier than our usual, I believe, or is that right on?
The regular board meeting, it is the zero waste is 5:15.
Yeah, it's the same time it has been.
Yeah, okay. I was just thinking with the Thanksgiving holidays, whether we moved it, because some years we do, but this year.
We used to have it last Thursday.
Yeah,
Or second
exactly.
last.
Okay, cool. All right, so November 13th, 2025 at 5:15 p.m. for the Zero Waste Committee meeting and at 6:15 p.m. for the regular board meeting. Okay, and with that, let's move on to the presentations. We have presentations by SCS.
Yeah, so we have a couple of representatives from FCS Engineering to talk about the leachate collection project we've done for Greg McCarron and Christine Stokes.
Thank you for being here.
Yes, thank you. Good evening, everyone. Greg McCarron with SCS and Christine Stokes, my colleague here. And so just have a brief presentation on the leachate management study that we did for the agency, which started about a year ago. I think we had a kickoff meeting in November of last year. So, next slide, please.
It's a little slow, so
Yeah,
give it
okay.
a second.
So, I believe the board knows, so the leachate from Ulster and New Paltz landfills is collected, it's stored in tanks, and then it's hauled on a regular basis to the Kingston wastewater treatment plant. And so the impetus for this study was to look, can we do something different? Can we reduce costs? Can we reduce greenhouse gas emissions? So that was the initial objectives of this study. A couple months into the study, I guess there was a focus came up, I guess I'll call it, on PFAS and 1,4-dioxane. These are so-called emerging contaminants that the New York State DEC, Department of Environmental Conservation, is looking at both active and closed landfills. And so, the issue was raised, hey, what about PFAS and 1,4-dioxane in the leachate from these facilities? And so, working with Mark and Tim and staff, we kind of pivoted a little bit. We still wanted to look at reducing costs and greenhouse gas emissions, but now we wanted to look at, hey, what can we do in terms of treating for these compounds if and when that is required. And so there was, that was a new, kind of new parameters that were put onto the study. Excellent. So because of this, the agency doesn't sample and analyze for these compounds on a regular basis. So some additional work that we did was we did 2 rounds of sampling at both landfills. And it's, these compounds, I think most of you probably have heard of these are fluorinated compounds. There's a whole family of them. There's literally dozens, hundreds of these compounds, but the 2 most prevalent are shown here. I won't be able to, say the full name, but they're PFOA and PFOS. So it gets a little bit of an alphabet soup here, and 1,4-dioxane. So again, we went to both landfills and sampled the leachate, had it sent to a lab and analyzed for these compounds. We did 2 rounds of sampling, and the city of Kingston actually came out coincidentally the same day. I think it was the second round. They were there taking samples, and so we effectively have 3 samples from each landfill. And so with that, DEC has been doing a study around the state on closed landfills such as Ulster and New Paltz, and they actually had talked to City of Kingston separately about, hey, if we put out limits on PFAS and 1,4-dioxane, this is a limit we probably would have at your treatment plant. And so having the actual samples and analysis from the leachate from Ulster and New Paltz, and having some inkling anyways of what the requirements might be at the treatment plant, we looked at, compared those 2, and all of the compounds passed those estimated limits, except for PFOS at New Paltz. Okay, so again, with the 2 landfills, the 3 compounds, so there's a total of really kind of 6 parameters we're looking at here. 5 of the 6 passed the estimated limit. So I'll be clear, this whole situation is in flux, not only here in Ulster County with these landfills, but across the state. So the DEC is continuing to work on this subject matter. They're called kind of emerging contaminants as just a general category of compounds, and so they're just that. It's an emerging issue for not only New York State, but across the country, and we see that. We work across the country. We see that everywhere. But good news here is that, based on what we perceive right now as the limits at Kingston wastewater treatment plant, you would pass. And in fact, this last bullet point, it's, even the one that doesn't pass, it's probably unlikely, given the amount of flow, given the concentration, that Kingston would impose a limit for that sixth compound, or sixth parameter in this case. So that's all good news, I guess I'll say, on this subject area. However, there's lots of, discussion going on this topic. Again, it's in a state of flux. DEC has not come out with any limits for Kingston wastewater treatment plant. They haven't come out with limits or guidance on what folks should do with landfill leachate. So, right now, with the best information that we have available to us, it looks like you're okay, that you don't have to treat for these compounds. Next slide, please. Having said that, working with Mark, Tim, and the staff, we said, well, hey, let's look at this. We need to be prepared if we do have to treat for these compounds. What would we do, and how much does it cost? So we looked at a number of different treatment methods, a number of different kind of disposal alternatives. So a whole slew of alternatives and kind of permutations. A lot of detailed technical items. There's a report that we've provided to Mark and the agency, and there's a lot of details in that. We can go into those details if you want, but suffice it to say, we looked at these things. The item in bold here is what we would recommend at this point in time if you had to treat. And so I'll talk about that a little bit more. So that's advanced oxidation and granular activated carbon. And we also looked at different kind of disposal destinations, we call it. So, one is, separate sewer connections at each landfill. So right now you truck the leachate from each landfill to Kingston treatment plant. We looked at, hey, what if we just connected directly to the sewer at both locations? Then we also looked at just having one sewer connection at Ulster, trucking New Paltz leachate up to Ulster, and then going into the sewer, and then vice versa. A sewer connection at New Paltz and Ulster would get trucked down to New Paltz. So those are just different, again, alternatives that we looked at. Next slide, please. So ultimately, the recommendation is here. So we recommend, again, if this had to come to pass, truck New Paltz leachate up to Ulster, install a treatment plant there. Again, this with this treatment train, advanced oxidation, granular activated carbon, and then it would discharge into the Ulster sewer system, which ultimately goes to the city of Kingston wastewater treatment plant, but you wouldn't be, trucking that leachate. And then just information on why we picked that. So the advanced oxidation is what would be used to treat 1,4-dioxane. The activated carbon would be used to treat PFAS. These are kind of proven technologies for this kind of treatment. And then, reason for selecting those is that besides that they're proven, they're lower cost than the other alternatives that we looked at. And finally, going into the Ulster sewer as opposed to New Paltz is just, the Kingston plant is bigger. It's just a better fit for the leachate to go into the Ulster sewer system, ultimately to the Kingston plant as opposed to the New Paltz plant. So cost summary. So this is not cheap. So capital cost, we estimate at $2.8 million for the system. And then the annual O&M cost, operations and maintenance cost, is in round numbers $900,000 a year. Just in terms of comparison, your total cost with trucking is about $300,000 a year.
Three to four.
Yeah, so quite a bit more on the annual cost as well as there's the big upfront capital cost to install a treatment system. Next slide, please. This is just a schematic showing that treatment train. There'd be a number of tanks and the 2-unit processes to do that treatment for, again, 1,4-dioxane and the PFAS. So in summary, there is a way to treat. If you had to treat, there's obviously a cost to do so. But right now, until there's more clarity, more direction from the state and/or from Kingston wastewater treatment plant, right now we don't see that you have to change anything from what you're doing in terms of leachate management. The recommendation would be to, obviously pay attention to what Kingston and DEC are looking at doing, if anything, relative to these compounds. But in the interim, continue to truck leachate as you're doing it today. So with that, take any questions that you might have.
I have a question. First of all, I read your report briefly, quickly, but it's a really good report. You did a really good job. Sometimes these engineering reports are not easy for a layman to understand, and yours is both technical and understandable. So I want to, thank you for that. It was a good report. I'm going to go around with the board and give them all a chance, but my question would be, if we decide on your recommendation, how long, what's the time frame, and what's the acreage, what's the land involved? What are we looking at in terms of if we go ahead and do this?
Christine, I don't know if you remember the,
Yeah,
Even
it's
rough,
about
you know.
1 to 2 months to get it installed.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Can I just clarify to the
Sure.
board, this is the SCS recommendation and we're taking that and looking at it very heavily, but I think that it is incumbent upon the agency as well to not just wait for the mandate to happen. And that if we know that PFAS and 1,4-dioxane is going into the wastewater treatment plants that do not currently treat for it and then ending up in the Hudson and other rivers, that we should take the responsibility to do that. So we are looking at ways that we're going to be able to finance this and doing it, working with the board along the way prior to mandates and this is something that should be on 26, 27 agenda, my belief. And that's what our recommendation will be. They've done a great job of looking at what the climate is and what our best approaches will be. And then I think we'll have to take it from there.
Okay, great. So that was my question. I'm pleased to hear it wouldn't take, a lot of time to implement this. Erica, you have a question?
Not at the moment.
Is there any, problems with the town? If you built something on it, they got zoning laws and so forth, I'm not sure where we would stand if we had to do something that we'd have to go to the town first and ask them if, we could build this. I'm not sure even how much big of a space it is or whatever.
We would build either of these on site of our current footprint of the landfill, and it would have to be in coordination with the town because either going to New Paltz or Ulster or another option that hasn't been discussed, but I know the city of Kingston is looking at getting involved in something like this and building a large overhaul to their wastewater treatment plant, potentially partnering with them to build it on site and then continuing to truck and dispose of there, but with them in partnership helping us build it. So those are all the options, but in order to get that connection, they're gonna have to approve that.
Right.
Anyway, we can't just start dumping into their sewer.
Right.
So it would be in coordination with whichever municipality we decide.
Okay.
But yes, there would be some permitting and other things.
And the DEC will let you build on the footprint?
We have tanks there
Okay,
currently.
that was my question.
Here we go.
Do you see what we would have to, what permit modifications would have to go through to build on top of the closed landfill?
Is that your only question?
Well, no, I did have, based on what you said, Mark, and based on the price, is there, this something that if it's going to be, if it may be required down the road, is this something that there likely would be grant funding to help pay for, or is it? I didn't think that would be the answer, but.
Unfunded.
I mean, I can't say no, but I highly doubt it. I don't know what
Yeah,
Greg's
we-
experience with that, with new mandates. I have not
We
seen.
haven't heard of anything about that yet. So.
Because if that were the case, getting out in front of it ahead of time, ahead of other agencies might be good, because then you're not competing for the same grants.
And- so there's no grants. What currently exists is a lawsuit, class action lawsuit against DuPont. And we are working with the consultant, and that consultant's met with the SCS team. They have lawyers who are analyzing to see if there's a connection, because part of the DuPont lawsuit is that there's billions of dollars to remediate wastewater treatment plants that deal with drinking water. And so we have to see if we have the connection needed to qualify to be part of that lawsuit. So, and that consultant also works with StreamGo, which is one of the options, but not SCS's recommended option. Mainly, I think, because it's new emerging, as these are emerging contaminants, that is a very emerging technology. Now, foam fractionation has existed for a long time, but they're doing nano foam fractionation. So these are all things that we have to look at. Part of the largest cost of the GAC system, if you were to look at your report, about $500,000 in activated carbon filters every year, right?
Right.
It's about that. So that's where the operating and maintenance cost comes from. A system, if it's proven elsewhere to work, those systems have less maintenance costs. They have a lot more capital costs up front. But we have to look at, and we would work with the team to see what's the payback on something like that.
Life cycle analysis.
Right.
If a better technology emerges, say we go ahead and we do this now in 5 years, is it easy to switch over, or is it something that, we're gonna build in another, a whole series of costs?
Well, so again, these technologies are all new. So we are seeing some of these, and we're involved with some, actual facilities that are being built right now. So, everything's kind of fluid at the moment, and so that remains to be seen. But typically something like this, when you have a capital cost in the order of $3 million, typically something like that you'd want to use it for 10
I'm
years.
just concerned about the annual operating costs are a lot.
So the nice thing about the GAC system is it's not capital intensive.
Right.
Again, it's operating intensive.
Right.
So if we did decide to go down this road, and there was, because really too, there's questions about whether foam fractionation handles 1,4-dioxane or if it just handles the PFAS. So if it handles the PFAS, we could still build a system like this that takes out the 1,4-dioxane for sure and replace the GAC system down the road. Because again, it's very little. I don't even think it's $1 million in capital. It's
Right, they're kind of standard vessels.
Right.
That with the carbon.
remove those vessels and add the foam
Right.
fractionation if necessary, which would
Right.
cost us more money in capital, but our operating would go
Right.
down.
Yeah, that's what really scares me.
Do you have any idea what the Army Corps of Engineers is doing in Newburgh? What they're doing to PFAS, to,
I don't,
Yeah.
Christine, have you heard anything? This is at
But I know it's a big
Stewart?
well, yeah, that
Yeah.
behind Stewart there, that's the reservoirs. And they've been working with it for a few years now.
Yeah.
I don't live in, I live in Ulster County, but I live down that way, so I know all
Right.
about it. I just wonder if they, what system they were using, if you might have known, but it's not. The federal government doesn't have any standards on PFAS, do they?
The federal government?
Yeah.
They put out some studies, so there was one that came out earlier this year from.
And how did this compare to those studies? Are your samples to those studies as far as their limits? Will they still limit, are limits still lower than what the federal government put out? Or they didn't put limits out?
Well-
Put out drinking water.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, so to be clear, the estimated limits that we were looking at, they actually came from the DEC that was
Okay.
looking specifically at the Kingston wastewater treatment plant and its particulars and looking at the Hudson River.
Okay,
So it's very, very kind of site-specific, facility-specific. So, and that was, that's just an estimate that DEC was doing. We were able to get that and use that. And again, as in the way of a comparison, looking at the actual values in the leachate. So, what would actually come out usually would that come out in a permit limit for the city of Kingston wastewater treatment plant, and then they would kind of run that upstream
okay.
to folks like the landfills. So it's still again kind of fluid is the best.
Andrew, Rebecca said they have a GAC in New York.
Yeah, but they ended up not using it and they're still on the aqueduct. Drinking Washington Lake is not, they're not drinking from Washington Lake and they use Brown's Pond, which is their secondary source in emergencies, and something else in Marlboro.
Okay.
But the GAC ended up not actually treating the PFAS that they were trying to remove.
Okay, thank you.
Are there any other questions?
My
That's
feeling
one
is,
quick thing. Just on the GAC, were your numbers based on replacement and disposal or regeneration?
It was a replacement.
Yeah, because with PFAS,
Replacement.
you don't usually,
Okay,
Yeah,
because
because it's
here's the
expensive for
problem. You can
regen.
end up with something classified as hazardous waste at the end of the cycle, the life cycle of the GAC. And
They have to
those,
go to specialized disposal sites. Like
that's right,
incinerators
and those
and
costs are
others.
gonna keep going up.
That takes those costs in, replacement and disposal costs.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
All right.
Thank you. Good presentation and good work so far. I wish it wasn't so expensive though.
Yeah.
See if you can fix that.
I should have mine on.
Okay.
Yeah.
Alright, so we'll move on now to general reports. We had, so I'll start with the governance committee had a meeting to discuss a policy on attendance for board members. And essentially, we just decided to just put it on hold because we're looking at County 304, County Regulations 304, which involves solid waste. And we're also, the legislature might still increase the number of board members on this, on our board. And so we felt it wasn't timely to discuss a policy that might have to undergo a whole lot more revision because of the changes to 304 and the number of our people.
So what they're looking at changing is not, it's the enacting statute. So the enacting statute is what establishes that board members are removed the same way as county officers. So I think if there was change to the enacting statute adding board members, the conversation went around maybe the discussion would be having recommendations like that.
Right, okay, thank you for clarifying that. And we were all here, so that was, clear, but you weren't in for that meeting. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Yes. Okay, recycling program update, Nina?
Yes, thank you, Chairman. In September, our recycling outreach team wanted to acknowledge Hispanic Heritage Month by showcasing all the Spanish resources that are offered by our recycling outreach team. So we also included Spanish translations to all of our social media content to celebrate the holiday. And you can view a sample of some of our social media provided in your board packet. And while our entire website does translate into Spanish by the click of a button, I'm working on creating some additional Spanish materials to add to our website under the resources tab to just increase access and visibility of that material. On the radio, we aired a reuse and repair message promoting the information that's available on our website about local reuse and repair organizations. We also aired a general educational message about the impact of our waste in landfilling. And we're actively promoting our upcoming household hazardous waste collection program, and script copy for those ads are also typically included in my board report. Beyond advertising, our recycling outreach team responded to 436 phone calls for 18 hours of conversation in the month of September. We participated in 6 community events, hosted 2 facility tours, and led 4 workshops this month for the Saugerties Girl Scouts, New Paltz Gardner Senior Club, local emergency operators, and a public class for kids in partnership with the Town of Ulster Library. So with 12 outreach programs, this was another very busy month for us. Collectively, these programs reached 296 adults and 61 children through 30.5 hours of direct education. One of the volunteer special projects completed this month was the new flyer and brochure display in the entrance lobby of the office, which was inspired by our recycling educator Eva Barnett and really brought to life by one of our MCR volunteers, Casey H. 2 of our volunteers are the co-founders of a local nonprofit called Adaptive Design, which has been, quote, transforming the lives of individuals with disabilities by inventing and producing innovative, low-cost, adaptive design solutions made entirely from upcycled cardboard for over 20 years. So my colleague Eva was brainstorming ways of improving the presentation of all of our media in the lobby and reached out to Adaptive Design to collaborate on a solution that is functional, low cost, and 100% upcycled. So I hope you'll agree that this new display is very cool and effective at sparking conversation about reuse and recycling and helping us exemplify our mission. So I just want to thank and acknowledge Casey for her time and service to help us with that. Another project I wanted to spotlight, I was working on with our administrative assistant, Eliana Reese. So for background, as per the U.S. Composting Council and the Seal of Testing Assurance Program, the agency is required to sample and test our finished compost on a quarterly schedule and disclose all those results to the public. So every test result we've ever done since 2013 is there for public consumption on our website, but you have to click through to really compare the samples that were tested. So I worked with Ellie to compile all these results over the past few years and incorporate them into some charts and graphs along with some helpful tips about how to interpret those test results. So farmers looking for specific content about the chemical, biological, and physical components of the compost can really easily now, at a glance, look at that data and understand it. So I want to thank Ellie for her focus helping me with that project. And our team continues to focus on developing our festival recycling media, and we're making really great progress in that sense. I'll close with a couple brief updates about our seasonal programs. As a reminder, our next household hazardous waste collection program is scheduled for Sunday, October 26th in Kingston. We still have great capacity for signups there. Our Saturday electronics collection program saw 205 drop-offs during the month of September. Weekly bagged compost sales, we sold 227 bags of compost in the month of September. And just as a reminder, these are seasonal programs. They're slated to end for the year on Saturday, November 22nd, which is the Saturday before Thanksgiving. And we'll resume again with a couple of convenience pop-ups during the winter months with those dates TBD. Or otherwise, we'll resume again in April. So that's all I have for now. Happy to answer any questions that you might have.
Thank you. Does the board have any questions for the Director of Sustainability? I want to mention, Mark showed me the new display, and I said, oh, let's put this on the website. It's great. It really is. So, I don't know if I know you have a whole ton of things going on, but I think that should be spread around and shown to people because it's really great.
Yeah,
Thank you for getting that together.
What do most people call in to the hotline to ask?
Great question. So anything under the sun. How do I get rid of X, Y, Z, A, B, C? But we're finding that a lot of questions, people have a lot of questions about the chemicals and the types of toxic wastes in their home. They commonly have a lot of questions about accessing our electronics recycling program and what exactly is considered e-waste. Sometimes they're calling us about our classes and programs and just wanting to get more information. We spend a lot of time setting up those types of school visits and tours and planning over the phone, so some of that's represented in that 18 hours. And textile recycling is also a common theme. People have a lot of interest in making sustainable choices around how they depart with their clothing, whether that be donating it or finding bins for recycling and things like that. So, and then we also get a lot of compliments about the compost. A lot of our customers that have questions about that, but those are some of the bigger categories also falling through those seasonal programs that I'm talking about.
You excited for Free to Thrift to open up?
For sure. Yeah, absolutely. The more the merrier.
And they don't only call into the hotline, like our website has a chatbot, so we have that information too. That's actually just switching from our data net to the recycling outreach team, looking at that and looking at trends. And I think that's something that we can provide to the board, like what's the last few months of trends for the chatbot as well. So maybe in November.
Sure.
Although maybe not November. You'll be at NISAR, but I could report it out, so.
Well, thank you, Angelina. All right, and you're gonna pinch hit for Tim while he enjoys the birthday cake?
I am due, I will,
Okay.
I am due,
Great.
I will do that.
Great. All right, so an MSW tonnage report, our recycling tonnage report, our MRF cost center analysis. Please take it away.
So MSW tonnage report, remember that is the document that, like this, one. So tonnage for August was 9,287, which is 736 tons less than our target. Our C&D tonnage for the month of August was 2927, which is 414 more. Total tonnage was 12,214, or 1,150 less than our target. So year to date, total tonnage is 90,833. That's 4,467 tons less than our target, or 4.7%, which again, in this budget, why we downgraded our projection. Our recycling tonnage report. So most of the recycling volumes remained consistent, and that's the green report here. A majority of the commingled decrease from July to August is from the city of Kingston, who pick up every other week. So the decrease is timing related, 3 pickups in July versus 2 in August. Happy to take questions about either of those 2 documents, or just move on to the cost center.
Any questions? Let's move on then.
So the MRF cost center analysis, total sale of,
Mark, I just saw
Yep.
one thing. Is there a reason for the drastic food waste drop from July to August? It's like 200.
yeah, so I know at some point late summer, one of our larger customers had for a time taken the food waste to Pennsylvania to feed
Okay,
like pig farms,
got it.
and
That explains it.
they're back, but yeah, we're trending. Like, it was good that we got the permit modification. Now we can encourage more people and really get out and do more education as we look to expand, but we're trending quite a bit lower than, last year. Last year, we almost hit 5,000 tons by around this time, and we had to divert almost all the food waste customers elsewhere. So right now, year to date, we're at 3,650, so.
So I think that's because people, maybe they didn't know they could depend on us or something, so it's good we have the permit modification.
Yeah, and again, it's probably half to 2/3. A large amount of our food waste comes from one commercial customer who handles the Target and ShopRite and Walmart, a few different Ulster County stores. And so if they don't, they just shifted for MRF cost center analysis, total sales recyclables for the month of August, 18,928. Total cost of residuals was 7,461, which gave us a net of $11,467. Total personnel and operating costs for the month was 64,000. These costs were higher than normal because August is a 3 payroll month. Net loss for the month of August for the MRF was 52,292. Our year-to-date net loss at the MRF is 177,747. At this time last year, we had a net loss of 106,000. So the current fiber market conditions are not great, but they continue to be stable. I think that we've seen supplied with these charts, which shows you that, at a certain point in the last 12 months, OCC was $140 a ton, now it's right around 90. So, any questions there?
Well, I mean, you look at that chart, you see it's been down for the most part in mixed news and also the hard mix. And it's kind of stabilized, but hasn't gone up from the beginning of the year, that's for sure.
And again, some of that has to do with timing of our sales too, because we don't sell every product every
Right,
month.
right. All right.
And our year-to-date number would be 5112, which is what we would have to charge per ton in order to.
I wonder if I can actually see the past reports. I'd just be curious to know the overarching trends
Yeah.
potentially, because year to year it's fine, but I guess
We
if
can
that's
get
the case, it probably.
we have that. We can show that.
Awesome.
So the next one we will need at the end of motion to approve because it's the treasurer's report.
Okay, great. So let's hear the treasurer's report.
There are no revenue line items of note. The total revenue for the month of August was $1,915,920. Expense line items of note, personnel, $475,948. Again, that's 3 payrolls. There was an HHW event in August, which was $36,118. Vehicle and equipment maintenance, $5,569, which was for various supplies, repairs for tractors, transfer station equipment, tanker. Then we have the closed landfill monitoring and maintenance of $10,939 for 4 leachate pumps for the Ulster closed landfill. $8,342. So our total expenses for the month of August were $1,981,200. which gives us a net operating loss of $65,280 for the month. Capital outlay for the month consisted of 3 separate items. The deposit for the EV roll-off trucks, which was $160,000. Balance for the new tractor of $19,230. We did construction of the New Paltz landfill perimeter road at $16,916. We operated in a deficit of $261,426 for a year-to-date deficit of $25,519. Most of our capital costs have come in that we budgeted for, if you were to look at the numbers, and so we anticipate that we will come out of that deficit for September.
Are there questions on the treasurer's report?
I'll make a motion to accept it.
I'll second.
Okay, all in favor of accepting the treasurer's report as delivered?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, thank you. All right, the executive director's report.
So, attended some stakeholder meetings in September. Town Supervisors Association, where the main topics covered were the town contracts and the agency's 2026 budget. I think most of the supervisors were relieved, as Mike had said, that there was no increase to their tipping or tipping fees or poll charges. On Saturday, September 20th, I attended Assemblymember Streetha's paper shredding and e-waste collection event. We arranged for ERI, our e-waste vendor, to set up a truck. It was very busy. They had, last year we participated just in an outreach booth and it did not have e-waste collection. There was about 80 residents that showed up, and this year there was 400 reservations, and I believe they were all there. They collected 7 tons of paper to be shredded and 3.5 tons of e-waste. And conversations I was having with folks throughout, and even one of the reporters for a weekly paper who has a column who mentioned he was worried that we were gonna have to turn him away and then he'd have to wait till next year. And I was just like, Hugh, I want you to be aware that, you know, April through November, you can come here from 8 to 2 and drop off your e-waste for free. So
On Saturdays,
on Saturdays,
just making sure.
sorry,
It's-
Saturdays. So, you know, I think we're working on a strategy to get more outreach out on that. I think our team does a great job, but clearly there's need for these type of events. Maybe staging some as events even and promoting them that way. I think that event that happened last week will be the last one that probably happens in the Kingston Library parking lot because it was very much outgrown. I ended up being traffic control for the entire event instead of doing the outreach booth. But I had experience from the COVID testing with the county and setting up vaccination sites. So I was kind of staffing traffic, talking to KPD, and then it went well. It was a success, and it showed us that we need, you know, clearly that, especially paper shredding, because they had to turn people away. The truck was filled with that 7 tons. So I think I talked to the chair about ideas on how we could, you know, take over, because they spend about $5,000 to bring that truck there, and then the truck, the company that does it, they keep the recyclable. And office paper is actually one of the things that is very high commodity typically.
What's the
And
ton
so-
price on, what's it? 7, I mean, you know, offhand, do you know?
And I,
No, don't worry about it.
yeah, I'm not sure.
In other words, you're saying if we
But
brought
I
our
think
own,
it's part of the, it's like 80 a ton.
if we brought our own truck and grinding machine, it
Something-
might be worthwhile, I don't know.
Might be.
Yeah.
Or a large scale shredder and just attach it to a piece of equipment and bring it around.
In trailer, yeah.
Yeah, something, so.
But the good news is that people are getting used to the idea that this is available and they're beginning to use it. So now we have to keep up with the growing demand. But it's a positive thing. I'd much rather have us keeping up with the growing demand than having us, you know, something where people don't show up. So this is, I'm really happy and thank you for making that work.
So the rest of my report, leachate collection, you had the presentation at the Zero Waste Committee. I gave the repower and the RIC presentation. We're gonna do collective bargaining and executive session. I'll just leave you with the RFP for diversion and alternatives. So the presentations, we had some on October 6th, and we have our second round October 15th. Again, the committee will recommend some number of companies to interview with the board to make the final selection. The 2 that we had so far were very interesting, and look forward to like kind of having the evaluation committee conversation after all of the proposals are done. But I think there's promise in what we have here, so.
The board have any questions?
I have a random question. For electronics, what if I like rounded up a few of my family members' things? Would it be helpful to know that it came from multiple houses if I were to come drop those off?
We do track, I mean, would we ask if it came from multiple households?
So we track the origin type. So is it residential? Is it commercial? Is it nonprofit? Is it municipal? We track the municipality that you're coming from. And then we'll also track specific devices like televisions and computers. So if you were consolidating for multiple households, but let's say everyone lives in Kingston, then that's all considered
Okay.
residential from Kingston. So that's how we would
Kingston.
deal with that. Though we do require appointments be made if you have a very large amount, which we would consider to be like a pickup truck or more,
Oh, God.
then we would have the right.
I do have a big family.
Yeah.
Great, all right. Absent any questions, anything else, or before we move on to Robert? The recycling compliance report, Robert? Is there anything you wanna say, or do you wanna, I have to say, this is a really, you're doing a really good job, the board is very pleased.
I
And
think he has a presentation.
Oh, do you have a
He was asked to
presentation
come.
you wanna-
He was, or was it just reporting out on the report? I mean, I'm not saying a presentation up there, but you.
do you wanna present? I'd like you to,
I was just gonna, kind of give a brief of
okay, why
what.
don't you stand up, because otherwise I can't see you. Thanks.
All right, so this month I've had the opportunity to work with Nancy a lot, who's been a great asset, and I think she was the missing piece to the enforcement and compliance side that we needed. We really worked on the 304 law, kind of went over some of the changes that I think could really help with enforcement and put some teeth on the law from my perspective. And we also drafted a letter to the haulers, letting them know that we're gonna start strictly enforcing these laws, which I think is the last letter that we need to send. I think all the haulers at this point should know the expectations of the agency.
That warning letter is something similar to what Dutchess County did, back early summer, and then they started right away, really, they really began, giving fines. I agree with Robert, the one thing I'll add is that there is one more missing piece, which is an administrative hearing officer. So, we need that administrative hearing officer, and I'm trying to find somebody, but having an attorney wanna do that, it's not been easy, it's a contract with the legislature. So sometimes contract requirements with the legislature can be more onerous, you need insurances and all these other things, and it's a $12,000 max contract. So do you really wanna go through all the documentation when the max amount that you can get is $12,000? So we're working through that process and trying to figure out ways.
Well, it sounds like that's another archaic, I mean, our fines are somewhat archaic, if I understand it, they're too low to really, deter some of these companies from breaking the law. And it seems maybe we could update or upgrade what we can give an administrative.
I think that's just the legislative budget, not necessarily an update in the law.
Right, but I mean, but even administering, updating with the legislature, sorry, I know I'm kind of tired, so I'm struggling with words a lot tonight. More you wanna say, Robert? 'Cause
And then also with the multifamily dwellings, it's been a constant battle dealing with the landlords and the LLC companies. I mean, they spend more time running and switching LLCs monthly than just complying with the recycling requirements. So I have been utilizing the haulers to contact them directly, which kind of puts the haulers in a bad spot as well. I mean, they can only push so much. It's a business at the end of the day, so the more they push, these companies will just switch to the next hauler and then switch to the next hauler. Rather than implement the recycling. Anything and it's really not that expensive. I don't understand why the $20 or $40 a month makes a big difference in these big companies, but somewhere in the law, we need to kind of give some teeth with dealing with the multifamily dwellings as well. I don't know if the law right now doesn't really state fines for the dwellings, it's more for the haulers. So, I mean, I don't know if that's something we can look at going forward. I think that would really help. And that's pretty much all I have for that.
I'd like to ask, I guess technically the attorney, is there some way that we can get it so that when he writes these tickets, it goes on the property no matter who owns it, like a lien, like a contractor's type lien,
I mean,
something like that?
from what I understand from the law, Robert is allowed to issue, these violations.
Right,
The problem ultimately is, collecting fines from the violation. You have to give opportunity for them to appeal or defend these violations. And without a administrative hearing officer, you can't do that. And so it's like a chicken and egg situation.
so if you had a hearing administrative officer and he said, I'm fining you $1,000 and they switched the LLC the next day, would it still be on the property? Or could we do that, ask them to do that, so it's on the property no matter who owns it?
I mean, I think it would just depend on
I think
the
you have
law.
to do more research.
Yeah, I would
Yeah,
have to
okay.
research that.
Please, because that way it doesn't matter who switches it, it's on the property. Somebody's gotta be responsible for it. They can't sell it Well, I mean, I don't know how the proper.
Let me pick up on something, Robert, in your report, which is a really good report with a lot of good recommendations. You write, I would also like the ability to red tape dumpsters at multifamily dwellings and businesses so that haulers cannot pick them up. Can you elaborate a little on that, please, or Nancy?
Well, like I know like municipalities, some of their enforcement officers, which, you know, obviously I couldn't go, you know, residential to every house and red tape, but as far as like businesses or maybe, you know, these multifamily dwellings that are refusing, having some authority to kind of taking the hauler out of the equation and kind of giving us the authority to, doesn't matter who the hauler is, you know, to kind of blacklist them in a way until they implement the recycling. It was just an idea, I don't know if it's even feasible, but.
Well, I think it's a good idea. Whether it's feasible or not, I think we'll have to investigate. But I do think, doing direct action like that is probably the most effective way as opposed to running them down, a series of LLCs.
Robert, do you have the same limitation, so code enforcement officers can't go on private property to look for issues because of essentially trespass laws? Do you have that? I mean, if somebody brings their cans out to the curb, obviously you probably have the ability to go to check them, but you can't, it's a question. You're not, like a commercial property, you can go on because any member of the public can go to a commercial property, but, so I didn't know how the multifamily fit in that, if that's considered public property or.
I mean, it says any person.
Okay. Okay. And just while you're here, because I may have said this at a meeting when you weren't here, and it's after the summer now, but I live in the town of Rochester. There's other towns in more toward the southern end where there are a lot of summer camps. And I can guarantee you from my observations, the source separating is not happening at all. If any recycling is happening, I'm surprised. And I think maybe if you can put that on your radar for next year to include, because there's large amounts of waste that come out of these, and it's all summer camps. It's not particularly just religious ones, it's across the board. But there's travel trailer camps, things like that.
A few of the camps that I did investigate this summer, getting access seems to be very tough.
Okay.
A lot of them are gated off.
Mm-hmm.
And so I did reach out, I did send a few letters out by mail, which there was no response.
Okay.
So I mean, maybe that's something we can try to like navigate and come up with a different idea for next summer to try to gain access, or.
We can buy a drone.
I mean, I'll just speak from experience. I can't speak to the ones in Ulster County, but I worked for 8 years at a camp in Dutchess County, and it's a large property that has 5 camps, 3,000 to 5,000 kids from New York City come out. We basically did dual stream recycling and we composted. And so
That's great.
not every camp I wouldn't say every camp is not doing it. I understand what you're saying. It might be a broad range, but I did mention it to Robert and he did try to go inspect some of those camps during this summer.
And it's also encouraging that it can be done. I mean, you're proof that it
Yeah.
can be done.
Yeah.
It's not too onerous.
Sign up all of our grandkids, kids, nieces, nephews.
Yeah, let me ask you this, I'm sorry, let me ask, I'm sure that the county planning board has in their regs that any place over 5,005 units has to be reviewed by the planning board. And the planning board was supposed to have put in, when they review those plans, parts for garbage and recycling. I don't know if that's happening, I haven't really.
So
Okay.
I'm the chair of the county planning board.
That's what we said.
We actually have, at my request, instituted that when things that get referred to us, but we don't have the ability to mandate anything. We make recommendations to the local municipal planning boards, but we have been making comments about, besides dumpster location and safety and things like that, about how operational about the dumpsters. So we're trying to teach as we go. So, but I appreciate the comment. Yeah.
I've seen that, and, is there any way maybe we can, tag the camps with the, event? They're gonna,
Mass gathering permit?
yeah, not a mass gathering permit, it's, an event. I thought that they were gonna have like a push-up, maybe they should in our town. I'm for recycling at events. I thought that we had that, but I guess that's my town, I'm sorry, I got confused. That, I've been pushing that there because they have events and nobody, even the deposit bottles, I'm saying don't even, just throwing deposit bottles in the garbage, so, that's not right.
I will add one win that we've had, and maybe I mentioned this last month, but if you go shop for gas, you go to Stewart's or Quick Check, right?
Quick Check is in the works.
But Stewart's is implementing, they have recycling bins at the pump and separate, like, it didn't exist. Robert worked with Stewart's corporate, and now in Ulster County, if you go to Stewart's, you have the option to recycle at the pump. A lot of people clean out their cars and it was just all
dump it right
going
in there.
in the trash, so.
That's a big win.
I have a few of the smaller gas stations that implemented as well, but Quick Check is the big push right now.
I just wanted to ask if we can get, as the recycling oversight committee, can get a copy of your report that they're all reading. And if I email you, could you send it to me and I'll distribute it? Thanks.
Okay, any other questions for Robert? Again, please keep up the good work. We're really happy with what you're doing.
Yeah.
And it's nice, particularly for me, because when I was on the board, there wasn't any recycling, compliance officer. And now we have someone who's doing a bang-up job, and yeah, it's gonna take a while, but you're getting there. We're
Okay.
getting there.
Yeah, I feel like we're making progress. I feel like we have the pieces almost together for it,
Yeah.
so.
Great, thank you. Okay. So now, sorry? Oh, did you have your hand up? I'm sorry, I didn't see it.
I just want to ask, are you working with the Department of Health? Because for camps and restaurants and other, they go into those facilities on a regular basis and can provide the education. And then 6 months later, if they're not cooperating, then it would make sense to implement enforcement. Because I know early on, we cooperated with the Department of Health. And for example, if the haulers were not cooperating, they wouldn't get their license renewed the following year to be a hauler. So I think there's a lot of potential there. I'm not sure how much you're working with them.
No, I haven't, but I will look into it.
Great, thank you, Matt. All right, so now we'll move on to the last resolution that was left hanging, Resolution 2651, approving the service agreement between the Ulster County Resource Recovery Agency and Ulster County.
I'll make a motion, we discuss it.
I second.
All right, all in favor of discussion?
You don't need to.
Okay, great, well then, let's just go on to it then. All right, so Andrew, you mentioned discussion specifically, do you have questions you want to start with?
No.
Okay. Alrighty. Erica?
No.
Alright.
So I had a kind of a question for Mark, because I know in the beginning, we have gone through all sorts of iterations of this. And you said and I just want to be sure I understood, you said at the last meeting that you think that this contract will serve us well for the period of time that it is and the duration. I just want to be
I think
clear that we're I don't want to say protected, but we're covered for what we're gonna need with this agreement. It's not gonna come back, because I've read through it and I don't have any, I have some still reservations about why we even have it, but I understand that it makes a lot of people comfortable and I don't have an issue.
So I think it is an insurance policy,
Okay.
because with the net service fee, even though we haven't used it in 13 years, if times were, let's say I'm wrong, like we currently are running a deficit. If September, October, November's numbers don't get better, then we would have to do the first net service fee in 13 years. I don't anticipate that, but I also can't project what's gonna happen globally. And so I think that insurance policy makes me believe that it's a contract that we should sign. Other than the net service fee, I don't think that we receive a benefit from it. Now, the downside of it was the cap in bonding, and I think getting it up to 60 million made me feel comfortable recommending it to you. Everything else in there is, I don't think it benefits us or the county, it's words, but I think it's legal terms that need to be in the contract.
Yeah, sometimes, you know, I'm not entirely pleased with this, but I'm pleased that it's come to this point where we can all agree and move forward. And so I'm certainly in favor of it. I think Mark did a good job. I think the legislature did a good job. And so here we are, and we have an agreement that the legislature has already passed.
And signed, the
and
chair has
signed.
signed it, I have a copy that.
Great.
Jim, can I say one more thing?
Sure.
I do have to say, I watched the legislature meeting where this was discussed and debated, and it's disappointing that some legislators, not the bulk, it did pass, but that some legislators really appear to treat this organization as a little bit the enemy. And we really need to be, I think we are doing a good job of working with them. I think, you know, we are appointed as 5 volunteer members. We don't earn a penny for being here. We put a lot of hours of work in, and we take our job very seriously. We wouldn't be here if we didn't want to be on this board. And it's just, it was disappointing to me to the way we were characterized as, you know, that we could go off the rails and put the county in a bad position. I just felt like I wanted to say that out loud because an awful lot was said about us out loud at the legislature meeting. So, I understand concern. I understand the fear of costs, and that is their job. But it just, there needs to be a little trust.
Well, there's there's political grandstanding going on. And so you just have to take everything that's said with a grain of salt and understand that politics is politics.
Yeah.
But when it came down to making an agreement, there was seriousness for the most part among the majority of the legislators and the leadership of the legislatures. And so I'm, like I said, I'm pleased with what finally emerged, and I certainly support it. And, I'm willing to call the question. I don't have any further discussion unless anybody else does.
No.
Okay. All in favor of resolution 2651? Aye?
Aye.
Aye opposed? Great. We now have agreement.
Sign it before you leave.
Okay.
Did you just say you were opposed or any opposed?
No.
No.
Just
Unanimous.
Unanimous.
He said aye.
It was Murphy's Law question.
1 absent, 4 ayes, 1 absent.
Okay, so, the next item of business is discussion of County Code 304, solid waste recycling amendments, first round, and Mark and then Nancy.
It's straight over
Okay.
to
Legislature.
Agency council.
So I'll keep this brief because I see that we have other items. And this is just the first round. I think this is just to kind of dip our toes, kind of, I guess let the board know what types of changes we plan on making with 304. To start off, 304 is made up of 4 parts. It's Article 1, 2, 3, and 4, with Article 4 being added as late as 2019. Now, Article 2 deals with recycling law, and Article 3 deals with solid waste. So Article 2 has been amended in its entirety in 2010, and Article 3 had been amended in its entirety in 2012. That being said, the board is interested in making some changes to it, so we can 304-11A establishes the rules and procedure to amend 304. So some of the categories of amendments I started talking with Robert and Angelina and Mark about I kind of put them into categories, some issues that came up. One of them was the definition section. So definition section, it's all in each of the articles have their own set of definitions. Some of them are inconsistent. Some of them need to be updated with New York State DEC's, or at least closely aligned with New York State DEC terminology. So there's that issue. We have to streamline the definition. I don't think it's necessary to go through each specific article and each, terminology. But yeah, I spoke with Angelina and Rob, and they came up with some new terminology that would be very helpful in clarifying some of the sections of law as well. So that's the first category. Second category, in speaking with Angelina, are issues with the recycling reporting. First of all, I think there is confusion with recycling reporting versus recycling plan. So I think the law can be written a little bit better in clarifying that. They're two different things. And I think that comes with, or that's what some confusion that Rob encounters with small businesses as well. I think people are conflating the two, and they're different things or different requirements. The third category are confusion with recycling plans. So yeah, as I mentioned, this is kind of the same overlaps with the issues with recycling reporting. The recycling plans is more of a requirement for owners of multifamily dwellings, leasers, managers, for them to provide a recycling plan, and which is different from the recycling reporting, which is the information you're supposed to gather for large generators. So again, doesn't make sense for me at this meeting to get into the details of it. I've kind of I've marked up 304. I've given everyone a copy of it. And basically, in more details, the red line version, I have comments that me, Angelina, and Rob kind of discussed, some changes that we'd like to make, and would like to get some feedback on.
It started with Mike's.
Oh, yes, Mike's, that's right. Mike's red lines changes are also in this. So it's, and I
Mine
printed
were
it.
mostly the definition.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, so there's a lot of definition stuff.
Incorporated both.
Yeah, fines, I think that's another category of changes we want to make, increasing in penalties. I have to do the research on, making sure we don't exceed jurisdictional limit. Each of the sections, again, towards the end of it, it defines, what type of penalty it is. And so for certain violations, it can be considered misdemeanor. But according to the New York State Penal Code, there are certain limits that you can have with a misdemeanor. You can charge a company for a misdemeanor. So for like criminal penalties for corporations, for example, for a Class A misdemeanor, it's $5,000. So I think that's probably fine. But anyways, I don't want to get into the really small, intricate legalese of it all. And then the last category is enforcement with respect to haulers. Again, Rob and Angelina, we talked about some changes that we can make to the law. And this is in section 304-23, 304-24, 304-35. These are the things that kind of describe the procedure, establishes what is unlawful, describes, establishes the independent administrative hearing officer, that kind of stuff. Things that we can probably update a little to help make, the agency's job more efficient in enforcing stuff. So yeah, that's basically all I have for 304. Again, you guys can take a look and provide.
You're being modest when you say that's all I have with you.
Yeah,
Both
very
you
com-
and really
very
not a good work,
comprehensive.
so thank you.
Terrific.
Angeline, I know you were in on it, Rob, so congratulations, you guys, this is a great start.
So as it says, this is kind of the first draft. We know that eventually this will need to go to the legislature because we can't make any of these changes. So this was the first iteration that we would give to you all. Over the next months, we will determine as a group which things you want to bring to the legislature. And then probably at the beginning of the year, we'll make those recommendations because it is local law and it's months of time. There was some consideration taken between whether we wanted to do this piecemeal or whether we wanted to do this in one shot. And I mean, because it's a local law, which requires public hearing and all of those things every time you change it, which is 3 months at the legislative side once we get there. It really doesn't make sense to do it piecemeal. We decided to bring this all to you. This is the first iteration, we're not done, and then we wanna hear from you all as well.
But this is my first read, I'm very impressed,
Yeah.
I wasn't just blowing smoke, thank you, this is.
And given that with the election that come January, there will be a number of new legislators, it probably doesn't make sense to start it there
Yeah.
because it would finish.
Right.
And January is being the
It's a lost month.
changeover, it's essentially a lost month because committees aren't formed yet. And so I think presenting this in February is probably the better way.
But it'll take us that much time anyway.
Absolutely.
Yeah, okay, well, that's great, but this is a great start. And Andrew, you were the one who brought this to our attention,
Yeah, thank you.
thank you for that. 'Cause
Well,
this-
reading
I hadn't
it-
realized until I started looking at this how archaic it really was.
Yeah, it's not only archaic, I found parts that no one ever even followed, you know, they just like, what's the sense of having it? Maybe we get the recycling oversight committee, once next year when it's all done, bring it to them, because we'll have more force, volume of people to ask the legislators to take care
Well,
of
and
it.
the energy.
Yeah, to endorse it, yeah.
Is that the right committee there?
Well, that'll be once we
Yeah.
take it to the, energy and environment.
Well, thank you. All right, so the next unfinished business, as it's in parentheses, is goals.
Yeah, and these both requests, the next two items were requested by Don. We
So-
can do a quick,
No, I would suggest that we just wait, because Abel's not here, because we'll just have to do it again next month. So why,
Yeah.
is that the will of the board? I don't,
Can Mark maybe just give us a quick update on, because the mattress recycling was approved by the
Yeah.
DEC,
Right.
So what, I understand Donna want to talk about, but what are the next steps that we're implementing on that?
so I'm giving the one company about another week to give me a proposal, and if we don't receive it, then we're just gonna go with the one proposal we have. Given that it was a year, I felt like both companies needed to refresh their proposals. One has sent me one, but the goal is to have a contract through agency council, begun in the next couple weeks. Operations is working on a plan on the construction and it'll be ready by January. Remember, it's not it's a couple trailers and a roof. And then by January 1, we'll be ready to begin
actually.
recycling the mattresses for the town of Ulster transfer station. One thing that we're working on, if we end up going with the one company that set a proposal, is they are really looking for growth. And they've started to pick up contracts up in Albany and beyond, and, they are inquiring about maybe a land lease with some of the adjoining land and seeing what can happen as far as setting up a recycling area there.
On our property?
Yeah.
Is there
Could be a
any
good idea.
possibility of dealing directly with the mattress retail places where, oftentimes they'll bring a new one and take away the old one for free, and I don't know if they're recycling them
They go-
themselves.
They go to Portchester, I think it was Portchester, wasn't it? Because I had, a year ago or so, when we were doing this, I had mattresses, and I asked the guy, what do you do with them? And he says, all the places around use us to deliver them, and we bring, the delivery company isn't for that particular company, they.
Right, they
Yeah.
contracted.
And he says they all go in the garbage at that point, is what he told me.
They come here.
Well, no, they picked up my house, but it was over across, it was in, Port Chester, wherever it was across it wasn't in Ulster County, they don't come here. I mean, I'm talking about, it's a warehouse where they have mattresses.
If they're disposing of mattresses, if they're just picking them up and delivering them, that is MSW, which is subject to flow control.
Well, then they're picking them up, this was like I said last year, they're picking them up and they're going back to the main warehouse where all the different companies use for mattresses, from what I understand. In other words,
Add to your list,
yeah.
Robert.
Well, I think it's a bigger, I mean, it is, but it's a bigger conversation
Yeah.
that we need to. I do know
Yeah.
that like some of the furniture companies, the local ones come here. and-
Oh, yeah, the small ones, yeah, but the ones that change their name every 6 months,
That'll be
That's
more
what-
like
and I said,
family, so have
yeah.
fun.
I talked to the driver, I don't know how accurate it was, but that's what he explained to me, that's what it was. And let me just ask, any further movement on the town contract conversations?
Not yet,
Okay,
we're still,
that's cool.
I go review.
Okay,
There was something I was waiting on, but maybe not.
yeah.
Well, we have some terms that we wanted to update and
Yeah.
speak with Tim and
So with that, we have reached the end of our agenda. We have an executive session. Do you want to explain in terminology?
Yeah, so I will request that the board go into executive session to discuss dated negotiations on the collective bargaining agreement and the employment history of an individual.
Okay.
Collective bargaining units.
We have one Teamsters.
Okay, so I'll accept a motion
Yeah,
to
that's
go into executive session. Nobody wants to go into
I'll
executive
make
session,
it,
but
I'll
come on,
make it.
someone.
I'll second it.
Okay, great. All in favor of going into executive session?
All right.
Okay. Why don't we take like a 3 to 5 minute recess? All right, take two. All right, motion please to come out of executive session at 8:18 PM.
I'll make the motion.
I'll second it.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? No? Okay, we're now all right, so now we're out of executive session.
I'd like to
Now we're
make a
back.
motion to adjourn the meeting.
I'll second.
Oh,
Okay, wait, but let me just point out, no action was taken in
Okay.
executive session.
nailed it.
And, okay, and there's a motion on the floor to adjourn the meeting. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? No?